word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple light.
Before we get started, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click, click.
Since age 4. It's been a part of many aspects of Memphis' creative culture, from being a front man in a heavy metal music, running podcasts on role-playing games, hosting and participating in panels at Mid-South and Mid-South Fantasy Convention, and has collaborated with creators from all over the globe. Ernie found his niche when he started the popular YouTube channel Blerd. Ladies and gentlemen, Ernie from Others. Woo!
Thank you. I'm going to try and not hold you all here because there's a lot of information to disseminate, so let's just go ahead and get on into it. Basically, how many of y'all are familiar with the comics imprint Milestone Media? 1. Awesome. That is going to make this even more fun. So basically, for those who don't know, Milestone Media, you really can't talk about the comics imprint of the 90s that just kind of came out of nowhere, was really hot, and just kind of disappeared. You can't talk about it without talking about your boy, who I always affectionately call the God, Dwayne McDuffie. Now, Dwayne McDuffie was a guy who basically, he had kind of been all over the place. The guy has worked for Marvel, he's worked for DC, he's worked for Archie, he's worked for just about every type of comic company or anything like that that you may ever probably want to know about. He has done really influential stuff throughout the years as far as stuff that involved the DC animated movies that, you know, we all say are so much better than the live action DC movies. But he also rebooted Ben 10, so that was the thing too. Now, when it came down to it, Dwayne McDuffie came to Marvel to work as an assistant editor for, it was Bob Budiansky. Very interesting name. So you have this guy come in, he's got all these great ideas, he's got all this stuff he wants to do. He helps Marvel start their trading card business. But there was one that you gotta ask a question, because he didn't stay at Marvel, obviously. He clearly did not stay there. So why would he leave? Well, just so happens, you can look at these covers right here. Marvel, about around 1989, had released 2 comics. You can see them right here. And they had a relaunch of an old character and the introduction of a new character. And the relaunch character was a character by the name of Rocket Racer, typically a Spider-Man villain, but it kind of turned to be less of a bad guy. And then he had Night Thrasher, who was the leader of the New Warriors. Now here was the problem you run into with this, and the reason why Dwayne McDuffie kind of pieced out of Marvel was because you can probably look on these pictures and tell exactly which characters I'm talking about because they all have skateboards. And that was his problem. He said, you know, you kind of pigeonhole these 2 black characters who at the time made up a quarter of the black characters in Marvel. And they are literally exactly the same character. I think one was rich, the other one was not. That was the difference. That and the color scheme. So he wrote this this kind of spoof piece, this like a treatment, a pitch for his own personal take on how he felt about what Marvel was doing. And I will show it to you. It was called the Teenage Negro Ninja Thrashers. And it was so important because he was like, oh, well, this is exactly what you need. See, what we do is we take Rocket Racer, you know, a black guy with a skateboard. We take Night Thrasher, a black guy with a skateboard. We come up with a character by the name of Dark Wheelie, yet again, another black character with a skateboard. And we give them a leader, their own personal Leonardo, if you will, who is just to be known as that guy, that mysterious guy with, you know, black guy with a skateboard. Yeah, nobody important. But the whole thing was he wrote this to be tongue-in-cheek. He didn't want this to be a thing. He was trying to prove a point. And that is kind of what led to the next step. You see, Dwayne McDuffie found other people who were kind of like-minded to him. Because back, you gotta think about this, this is the 1980s. This is 1989. Black people were not in the boardrooms. We weren't in we weren't in the offices, we weren't in the pitch meetings, we were on the pages. We had Luke Cage, we had Monica Rambeau. Yeah, we had Blade, Black Panther. But we were not in the boardrooms. These characters were all created by white men. No offense, but just saying. It was a thing. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they're gods. But the thing is, they weren't there. So he went to one of his boys, Derek T. Dingle, a guy who was known for writing Batman and Superman magazine. He also hit up his boy Michael Davis. Some of you may have even heard of Michael Davis for no other reason than his Twitter account was hacked about maybe 2 months ago, maybe 3. And there was announcements that he was dead. He was not dead, he's actually very much still alive. He does have health issues, which kind of made it even more hurtful that someone had done this to him. So he got Bernie Mac, more or less. But his whole thing was that he had done work for DC, specifically Etc., which you may or may not have heard of. But the next guy was a little bit more prominent, and it was a guy by the name of Dennis Cohen, who is mostly known for his runs as a penciler for comics like Deathlock, Batman, Green Arrow. He has done work for Power Man and Iron Fist. He has worked, I think even did The Flash, he has done work on just about any comic that was the comic to work on at the time. So he was kind of the big gun that they had. And then they had another player, but he was not to beat. And that was Christopher Priest. Some of you may remember him for his legendary run on Black Panther, which has informed a lot of the Black Panther movie that we got in 2018. He also had a legendary run on Deathlock that not Deathlock, but Deathstroke that had just ended very recently, and he did really good on Justice League before they kicked it over to Scott Snyder, and it's still great. But there were some personal issues between him, maybe Dwayne McDuffie, we don't know. They have been very coy about what this is all about. But, needless to say, he didn't join. And then you get to 1993. They've been planning this for, 3 years almost. And they can finally open the doors on Milestone Media. And when Milestone Media opens, they open with 4 comics. And I'm going to go through those real quick. I'm going to try to be real fast about this because there's a lot of information. A lot of good stuff in there. But first up is your boy, Static. Now some of you may know who Static is. Static was kind of the closest thing you could get to Spider-Man in a comic that was not a Marvel comic. He was a young black teenager, a smart kid, usually defeated his enemies with his brains, not his brawn. He also had to work a part-time job to help his parents make ends meet. He also had to go to high school. He also had to hang out with his friends, of course, as a teenager. And of course, he had to get a superhero on. So that's a lot to do. I mean, that kind of put him in that Peter Parker mindset and made him really relatable. He just didn't have spider powers, he had electrical powers. Now, once again, I said some of you may know who he is because of the Static Shock cartoon. Static Shock animated series was all your boy Static. They added a shock on for some reason. I don't know why, but it was a thing. So sometimes people get it twisted. They usually say it's Static Shock. It's just Static. But you fast forward, and this kind of goes into the deal that Milestone had. They had this really sweet deal with DC Comics. DC stays out of it. They publish Milestone's books. They help make sure they get to print. But they don't have any copyright over any of their characters. They also do not have any say over what goes into the comics. However, DC did one time pull up on Milestone and get upset over this cover here for Static number 25. This is the one time DC ever pulled rank on Milestone. And it was over this cover. This is the original cover I just pulled up. Now, you can probably see where they got upset. The whole deal was that this issue dealt with the fact that Static's girlfriend, Daisy, at the time was moving away. And they were going to consummate their relationship because they're teenagers, teenagers do what teenagers do. And DC was like, we don't really want to, use sex to sell this comic, we feel really iffy you would ask Dwayne McDuffie, he would tell you it was probably because they were black teenagers was part of the problem. Because if you really delve into the comic itself, there's no sex in the comic whatsoever. The most you will find is Static asking his dad about losing his virginity. There's a message in there. So, you have to kind of ask yourself a question, at what point, is DC just going to let this slide? Well, that was your result. So, fast forward to Icon, who I like to refer to as the suntan Superman, who don't give a damn. He was an alien, just like Clark Kent, who came from probably a faraway galaxy. But the difference is that when he crash landed on Earth, he crash landed in 1839 during slavery. Now, this is where things get a little hot, because his crash pod had this little mechanism in it that allowed him to recreate the DNA of whoever approached his pod, and it just so happened to be a runaway slave. And this pod would turn him into a baby to mimic the DNA of that person and give them genetics that would put them at the peak of what humanity can become. And that is what Icon is. That's why he can fly. That's why he has super strength. He can pretty much do, if you can think of something Superman can do, Icon can do it too. Not only that, he has put paws on Superman. DC even allowed Icon to beat the brakes off of Clark Kent. Now, granted, it was Clark Kent, Superman when he had the mullet, but there you go. He also had a sidekick by the name of Rocket. And one of the funny things about this character is that, she was a normal person. She was a teenager. Young kid who was kind of hanging out with a rough crowd and kind of messed up and broke into Icon's home. And when she broke into Icon's home, her boyfriend accidentally shot Icon. And that was when she discovered his superpowers. And then she started asking the question you all are probably asking right now. If this guy's been living on Earth for over 100 years and he has superpowers, then why the hell is he not helping out his people? And this is when she figures out what's really going on with him, and she convinces him to actually do something about his neighborhood. Now, the funny thing about Rocket is an interesting character for no other reason than she is one of, if not the first, comic book characters to go through a teen pregnancy. There are other characters who have done it, and even maybe roughly around the same time, but she technically is the first. Not only that, she kept her baby, raised her child, and still maintained her life as a superhero. So one of the more interesting things about their dynamic is their political views. You see, Dwayne McDuffie was a very hardcore liberal. Icon was a conservative, which was really weird for a black man in the 1990s. Rocket actually gave off more of Duffy's personal views. So a lot of times, it was always up to Rocket to keep Icon in check. So when he would start talking wild spicy about what he thinks black people should be doing, Rocket would remind him, wait a minute, you ain't skin folk. You look like skin folk, but you ain't skin folk. Now you fast forward to your boy Hardware. Now the first thing people will probably think when they see Hardware, they'll say, oh, this guy looks like a ripoff of Iron Man. You would be right. Now the funny thing about Hardware is that he was a young black kid who got found out by this major tycoon by the name of Edwin Allen, who took him under his wing, brought him into his home, helped pay for his schooling, brought him up, and got him because he saw in him the next greatest mind in science and engineering. There's only one problem. Edwin Allen was a criminal. He also didn't give a damn about Curtis Metcalf, aka Hardware. So what winds up happening is Afrofuturism kind of comes into play. Curtis starts taking the technology that he had at his disposal thanks to Edwin Alva, and he began repurposing it. He repurposed it to make his own nanotech suit. A piece of machinery that allowed him to combat and stop Edwin Alva from corrupting the city that they lived in, which, by the way, is by the name of Dakota. 1990s. It wasn't until 10 years later that Iron Man had a suit that he could summon from nowhere, that could just appear over his body. Weapons that would materialize out of nothing. So sometimes, copycats can be copycatted by the person they copycatted. My personal favorite is the Blood Syndicate, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The Blood Syndicate was a gang. They were not a super team, really. They wouldn't even want you to call them that. They were a group of rival gangs who came together once they got superpowers to stop other gangs from ruining their neighborhood. Blood Syndicate is perfect because it really is one of the best comics in the 90s. It was the most progressive comic you would ever read in the 90s. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because you wind up with characters like Brickhouse, who was all about body positivity. A character who, when she got her powers, she felt ugly because she literally became living brick. She felt like no one would ever love her. And throughout her story arc, she started to find people actually cared about her regardless of what she looked like. And it kind of helped her gain a certain positivity about herself. You had characters like Faye, who was gay, but he was in the closet. He actually was in love with the leader of the Blood Syndicate, but he could never tell him because he felt like he would be outed from the gang and excommunicated. Then you take Faye's sister. Faye's sister had the ability to time travel, and during one of their missions, all of the team was killed except for her. Now, her ability only let her time travel 3 seconds into the past, which was more than enough time for her to go back and fix everything. But the problem was, she still remembers everything that happened. She suffered from PTSD, and then ultimately, she turned to drugs to try and dampen the pain. Specifically, she turned to crack. Now, you remember that character I mentioned earlier, Rocket. Rocket was the character who helped her kick that habit. Now we flash forward to Masquerade. Masquerade, now you're probably wondering, okay, well, what's so progressive about this character? Well, you can probably tell Masquerade he's likely a man. You're wrong. Masquerade was born a woman, but identified as a man. And when Masquerade got their powers, they decided that they were going to use them to make themselves become the person that deep down they felt they were born to be. And the only reason you, the reader, would know that Masquerade was actually a woman is because during a fight, Masquerade was knocked unconscious, and Faye was the one who found Masquerade as a woman. And Masquerade was so protective of the secret. Masquerade was willing to out Faye to the rest of the gang in order to maintain secrecy. A little problematic, however, it was the 90s. So, okay, you're probably sitting here thinking, okay, well, what was up with Milestone? Why didn't it catch on? Well, a lot of people have a problem with the fact they're like, oh, Milestone, you're too black. There's too many black characters. We don't see any diversity. Well, that's only if you weren't reading. You see, you had Third Rail, Korean. You had Zombie, also Korean. Zombie, as a matter of fact, had his own standalone singles title. You had the character Kwai, Chinese, who also was on the same Blood Syndicate with Third Rail. You have representation in the Latin community in Aqua Maria, Tech 9, who was Puerto Rican, and you had Brickhouse, also Puerto Rican, if I'm not mistaken. Now, you did have white characters. You had Death Wish, who is kind of a Punisher knockoff, won't lie. The only difference is that instead of his family just being murdered, his family was raped and murdered. And he was also raped. He survived, and he became a criminal, or not a criminal, but a vigilante who hunted sex criminals. So he would thrive in the Me Too movement. We wouldn't be having all this talk about Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, they would just be dead. So you also had Donner, an ex-Nazi, a German woman, who realized that, you know what? Maybe I should use my superhuman abilities to do what's right instead of what's white. Move forward to your boy Cobalt. Probably one of the more prominent characters in Milestone as far as characters who are not black. Cobalt's a little different. He's kind of a mix of Punisher, Conan, and some other Thor elements. Just depends on who was writing it at the time. So you fast forward 5 years later, and Milestone crumbles under the weight of high cost of what it takes to color a comic. Because if you read the comics, you'll start to notice the color starts to dip in quality once you start hitting the teens issues of each of their comics. And then also, there was dwindling sales, people were just not following the books. Some of the issues I mentioned earlier, people saying it was too black. Well, you fast forward a little bit and DC steps in. And DC says, you know what? Milestone, you're falling under, we'll take your characters. And we will fold them into the DC Comics universe. And they even let McDuffie, Michael Davis, Darren T. Dingle even write storylines to introduce each of their characters into the DC universe, where Static becomes a Teen Titan, Icon, Rocket, Hardware, all become members of the Justice League. Now this was all pre-New 52, so some of that got written out when they decided to reboot everything. But, unfortunately in 2011, Dwayne McDuffie passed away at the age of 49. He died during a surgery on his heart due to complications, which really sucked because he left a lot of great stories on the table, and he was just a great man and overall humanitarian. So where do we go from here? Hard to say. You see, the main idea was Milestone was gone, but people wanted it back. It's funny because if you go on Twitter every couple of weeks, every 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see Milestone trending because people want it back. And that's where Reggie Hudlin came into play. Reggie Hudlin, some of you may know because he was the director of House Party, he was the director of Boomerang, he's written and directed episodes for shows like The Bernie Mac Show, Modern Family. He also is responsible for directing the documentary that hit Netflix not too long ago, The Black Godfather. Now Reggie Hudlin, he said, hey, let me get the surviving members of Milestone, let me get Darren T. Dingle, let me get Michael Davis, let me get Dennis Cohen, and how about we bring these characters back, updated for the modern era. And we call it Earth M. Still a part of the DC Comics universe, but updated with Milestone comic sensibilities. You see updated versions of characters like Donner. You see updated versions of characters like Icon and Rocket. You see a whole new team, an all-female team, multicultural, diverse, strong, not scantily clad, called the Love Army. We start getting character designs of updated versions of Hardware, Static, the Love Army. The funny thing is, all of this kind of culminated around 2017. And in 2018, June, they were supposed to relaunch. But it didn't happen. It got pushed back to October. Then October came. That didn't happen either. Now, I don't want to vilify anybody, so let me preface everything I'm about to say with, I had spoken with this woman and she's a really nice person and we get along. The reason is Charlotte Fullerton. Now, who is she, you may ask? Well, she is Dwayne McDuffie's widow. And Dwayne McDuffie had a 50% share in Milestone Media. That share was inherited by Charlotte Fullerton. Now, Charlotte Fullerton in and of herself is a great writer. She's done stuff for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, the Fairly Odd Parents. I mean, you really name like an influential kids television show she's written for or done work for. She even helped Dwayne McDuffie during the process of rebooting Ben 10. But the problem is, when Reggie Hudlin and company were relaunching, going through all their plans to relaunch Charlotte Fullerton, who has a 50% share. So then, it led to this. A lawsuit in 2017. Pretty much a cornucopia of different offenses for which she is suing them for. Things like accounting, civil conspiracy to commit fraudulent conveyance, aiding and abetting a breach of fiduciary duty. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. But here's the funny thing. Where does the fault lie? Is it her fault? Is it Reggie Hudlin and company's fault? Well, here's the problem. Fault kind of lies on both sides. They both are fully aware that Milestone is wanted back in the public eye, especially now more than ever. In today's political and social climate, Milestone is needed more than anything. And they both know this. I've spoken to both parties. You know, it's kind of a six-act world because they're both playing chicken with Milestone Media. But here's some good news and something that may be a ray of light, maybe some light at the end of the tunnel. If you watch shows like Young Justice, you can see characters like Icon and Rocket who feature in the first and second seasons of Young Justice. You can see Static up above, who features in seasons 2 and 3 of Young Justice. And in season 3, you can even see a very quick blink and you will miss a cameo of Hardware. These characters are still out there. DC has them. They are doing things with them. They're just not the things that the fans want them to be doing. And that's the sad part of it. Because at some point, we have to get that back. At some point, somebody has to blink. And the sad thing is, it doesn't look like either Charlotte or Reggie or anyone else involved with Milestone will. But if it was midnight in a perfect world for me, they would both say, hey, screw it. Wasn't a kid saying, let's get this bread? So, would you like to know more? Well, I would like to tell you more, but I'm pretty sure I am over my time. But, I will say, if you want to know more about Milestone Media, I actually have done several videos, full character breakdowns of a lot of the characters I mentioned earlier. I've also done breakdowns about Milestone Media as a whole, and there are more to come. You can check them out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BlerdWithoutFear. And as a special thank you for sitting through this with me, have some Deadpool shaking some booty for you. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone have any questions for me about Milestone Media? Booyah!
How much of a hand did Milestone have in the creation of the Static Shock animated series?
Milestone was very involved. Actually, it was their last production as a whole. When all of their comics had folded, they only kept, remember, Milestone Media existed solely for the production of the Static Shock animated series, which, by the way, we have the DC Universe out. You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Any questions about that? Hit me.
Do you think they got any more additional comments about any of the other comics?
Oh man, honestly, you would have a hard time finding many, if any of them. The most recent thing you'll find, maybe, is Static, The Rebirth of Cool, which was when he was completely under the DC banner. And actually, maybe not even that one. Teen Titans might be the closest because some of the characters from Milestone appear in Teen Titans. Characters like Holocaust, who is one of the few characters not of the core 4 or 5, if you count Rocket, that were not continued, or that were continued out of the ones that weren't. The Blood Syndicate were completely left in the cold, which is kind of sucks. Anybody else? Anybody else have any questions? Booyah!
I think you said at one time prices of comics went up.
Yes.
I didn't put that. I cut off at around 75 cents. That's when I got.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I totally understand why you did that.
35 cents, yeah.
Because they're $5 now.
What?
$4 and $5. I'm not lying.
Just answer my question.
Well, I tell you what. At the time of the '90s, the Milestone comics were between like $1.99 to $2.99.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, it was a big deal because I remember the commercial appeal actually did a full article about Milestone Media. Like, it was a front page story. I remember my mother bringing me home the commercial appeal for that day, and it had Icon on the front. And it was like, and I remember as I was maybe 8, and I just was like in awe. I was like, oh my God, who is this? How can I get more of this? There's more of this? Okay, let's do this. Anybody else? Well, I will go ahead and say I will be hanging around for the rest of the evening. If you have questions, I do not bite. I think I am a pretty nice person for the most part. Feel free to come up and talk to me. I will probably just be sitting around drinking and eating pizza. Thank y'all for giving me your time.
Let's give a little round of applause.
So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. And tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerdnite.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra.